Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So one of our viewers wrote to us on Instagram, really excited for us to check out this recent episode of the Joe Rogan podcast experience with Jordan Peterson on as his guest. And I actually discussed these two before when Jordan was on many years ago talking about the carnivore diet, which I'm really not going to get into here. If that's what he wants to do, so be it, you know. But anyway, the reason why I'm responding here and why our viewer wanted me to respond is because this the complete nonsense they're saying once again about vegans and veganism. And let's start off here. Jordan was talking about a conference that his carnivore proponent daughter was at. Not a conference exactly, but a debate between carnivore people and vegans. And let's start there.
So how did the vegans react to the pro-carnivore
it was very
position?
civil. It was very civil, although it was stacked to some degree because a couple of the people on Michaela's side damned the freedom to eat meat with faint praise.
Never heard of that before.
And I have my suspicions that it was staged that way.
How so?
Well, they basically said every reasonable person thinks that eating meat is bad and immoral, but we should still let people do it. It's like...
On her side?
Yeah.
Why would they say that? Why would they say it's bad and immoral?
So as far as I know, video of this debate that Jordan's speaking about here doesn't exist yet. I would love to see their exact wording, but I think he's getting to the point that most reasonable people believe that harming other sentient beings, harming other people and animals needlessly is immoral and cruel, and that's exactly what the definition of veganism is all about. A philosophy, a way of living that excludes, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of cruelty and exploitation of animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So I find this quite interesting that according to Jordan Peterson, that the people arguing for the pro-eating meat side of this debate acknowledge that your average person finds it morally wrong to harm animals, which makes sense to me. Your average non-psychopathic person doesn't take pleasure in harming animals, which is a good thing.
Well, what about having the argument that monocrop agriculture is immoral?
All right, so now here Joe is trying to argue that agriculture itself is immoral. Agriculture is not the same as intentionally raising billions of animals for slaughter needlessly, because you can eat plants and be thriving off them, and killing all these animals. But now he's going to argue that agriculture is immoral. All right, Joe, let's bring it on and see if what you're saying makes any sense.
Yeah, well, that was part of that was part of Michaela's argument.
That's responsible for so much death.
All right, so did everyone see what Joe did there? Because that was a nice, swift move. He's not trying to debunk or weaken this idea that killing animals needlessly for food is immoral. He just wants to throw that aside and direct your attention somewhere else to say, look, let's not talk about the animals, let's talk about plants. If people aren't eating animals, they're going to eat all these plants, and the process of raising or growing all these plants itself is immoral because animals are being killed. So let's just not even worry about killing animals when we raise them directly for food, because there's going to be some crop deaths. Well, let's look at these monocrop agricultural products that Joe's so concerned about. For example, soy. 77% of global soy is fed to livestock, and most of the rest is used for biofuels or vegetable oils. A mere 7% makes its way for human consumption. And the same for corn, another giant agricultural monocrop here. About half of all corn produced in the United States, guess what? Doesn't go to humans or vegans. It goes to feed livestock. And another 30% is used in ethanol production. Again, just like soy, just a little, if like a few percent actually is going to humans to feed people directly. So let's get back to Joe's bullcrap morality here, of this immorality of all these animals being harmed in agricultural food production. If Joe were truly concerned about reducing the amount of animals harmed in agriculture, as we saw here, most all these giant monocrops that Joe thinks are so immoral because all these animals are being harmed, well, guess what? That food is not only harming the animals in agricultural production, that food is also being fed to animals who are being killed in the meat and dairy industry. So if Joe Rogan were truly some kind of moralist concerned about animals and not harming them, if he were consistent in that belief, which he's not, he's just saying this crap because he's trying to justify his own meat eating, but if he were truly concerned about this immorality in agriculture and wanted to reduce the amount of animals harmed in agriculture, he would have no choice than to eat a diet of only plants. And to further prove this point to Joe, I'd like to point out to him this mathematical model here, a paper entitled The Number of Animals Killed to Produce 1 Million Calories in 8 Food Categories. So this mathematical model takes into account the distinction between the number of animals killed in agricultural food production, harvesting, and all that, versus the number of animals killed in slaughter. And as you look at the findings here, look at the bottom of this chart here. All these are the plant food categories, and way up high are the animal food categories. So no matter what Joe and these other anti-vegans are saying that that vegans or plant eaters kill more animals, no, there's no evidence to bear this out. It's just a bunch of unsupported fantasy bullcrap.
Mick talked about sustainable agriculture and made that case as well, that our relationship with animals that we devour can be made as humane as possible. And
again, just pure anti-vegan meat-eating fantasy. Jordan, please explain to me. Be very clear instead of just speaking all fluffy and flowery here. Please be very clear, Jordan, because that's something he's not good at. Explain clearly how you can humanely devour an animal. Please, I'm all ears, Jordan. If you could tell me how it's humane to shoot someone in the throat and eat it needlessly. And I want to point out the word needlessly, because there's absolutely zero need to consume animal products. And again, this is not my make-believe fantasy nonsense woo-woo here. This is the position of many professional health organizations, including, say, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, after having read the relevant scientific research on the matter and have concluded that complete animal-free diets, vegan diets, are nutritionally adequate and healthful for all people in all stages of life. And back a minute or so there, you might have remembered Jordan mumbling something about sustainable agriculture, abandoning all this factory farming of meat and just have everything be free range. And well, that sounds like a nice fantasy. And is there really enough landmass on planet Earth to scale up free-range meat to all humans on this planet? Because remember, Jordan is an advocate of the carnivore diet, so I actually did some math on this on a video back about 1.5 years ago. If every human on this planet were to eat a carnivore diet, is there enough landmass for this to work, or do we need multiple Earths? Let's take a quick look back. To show you how even more ridiculous of an idea it is, let's look at the land that's actually appropriate for agriculture and growing grass for cattle to graze on, and that reduces down to just 51 million square kilometers, which is only 12.6 billion acres. And remember, we need about triple that. We need about 35 billion acres for 19 billion cattle to be free roaming and eating grass all the time. So you would need roughly, this is my calculation now, you'd need roughly 3 planet Earths in order for everyone on the planet to be able to eat 100% grass-fed beef diet. 3 planet Earths. And once again, I want to emphasize, every time when I made a calculation here, when there was an estimation of like how much meat a person ate per day, how many acres a cow used, I went with the most conservative numbers, the lowest ends of those ranges. So the numbers could actually be much higher than what I calculated here.
Woman, I wish I could remember her name, autistic professor at the University of Chicago who revolutionized the treatment of animals in the slaughterhouse industry. She made the case that the animals that we eat don't suffer a humane death in nature.
Like, so much wrong to unpack there. Like, who's he kidding? What are we talking about? Like, most humans aren't there hunting like wild fowl or something like that. Your average North Americans eat animals that have been bred over thousands of years using selective breeding techniques to produce these big animals with lots of fat and meat on them. Like, say, cows, for instance. Humans selectively bred them over thousands of years to produce what you have now. Cows don't really exist in nature apart from, like, you know, free roaming grass-fed cows. And yeah, the death they face in nature, yeah, it's pretty gruesome because a human will finally round them up and slaughter them all. So I'm not sure what he's talking about here, about the death that these animals that humans eat day in and day out face a more gruesome death in nature. No, they don't. They've all been bred so that humans exploit them. We bring 80 billion animals into existence every year solely just to slaughter them. So yeah, that's pretty gruesome.
They're all torn apart by carnivores, and
all of them.
So, but
No, none of them died of old age.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, so ignoring what everything I just said there about how all the animals that humans eat on a practical everyday level are animals that humans bred into existence solely for slaughter and consumption. Let's just go with Joe here. He's saying all these animals in the wild don't live to be old age and they face a gruesome death. And that's true for some animals. Like, so what? I mean, of course, animals hunt other animals in the wild, but how does that justify humans eating animals? That makes no sense. It's like, oh, humans have the moral right to kill animals because in the wild, most animals don't live to old age because they're hunted by other animals. Do you see how that makes absolutely zero sense? Joe just tries to just do some like Jedi mind trick, like it makes some kind of sense, but it makes zero sense. Yeah, animals are hunted in the wild. Yes. So what? How does that have any relation to humans needlessly exploiting billions of animals every year? There's no connection, Joe. So anyway, that's pretty much their entire discussion about this nonsense about veganism. Like I said, there'll probably be more content I can make later once this video of Jordan's daughter comes out debating the vegans. It sounds pretty interesting from what Jordan said. I'd like to see it, and if it happens to be out right now, let me know. Leave a comment down there letting me know that it's out, and we'll take a look at it, maybe respond to that. Also, comment down below, how do you feel when you see people like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan, especially Joe Rogan? I've been making videos about him for years and years. He's just been a constant source of anti-vegan misinformation. Yeah, maybe he knows something about fighting and MMA and all that stuff, but when it comes to veganism, he just makes up crap, talks out of his butt, has no evidence to support anything he says, and always makes veganism look terribly bad in the minds of his millions of impressionable viewers. And, you know, Spotify, hey, talk to Joe Rogan, tell him to stop spreading this anti-vegan nonsense. Seriously, it's harming our movement. Anyway, guys, hit like, subscribe, and until next time, let's remain happy, healthy, and vegan.
Fall to the ground. You've got me spinning circles round.